A very good evening to all of you. Today we are yet again with another session of assertion and reason-based questions for class 12 chemistry. And this is me, Manisha Sharma from today's school, and the link is right in front of you. Without waiting and without wasting much of the time, let us start with the first assertion statement. So the statement is oxygen has less negative electron gain enthalpy than sulfur. Now, let me explain you electron gain enthalpy. आप सबको पता है, but still I'll tell you that every time you want an electron, the energy is required to gain that electron. And that depends on how desperate that the element is to accept the electron. So if you look at oxygen, it is 2,6. If you look at sulfur, it is 2,8,6. So there is a difference, right? Now, the reason here it says that oxygen is more electronegative than sulfur. That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. उसमें कोई doubt नहीं है. And oxygen की less electron negative gain enthalpy भी है, क्योंकि आप देखिए उसके पास 2 ही shells हैं. It has only 2 shells. So if it gets 2 electrons, the 2 shells become stable, right? Nuclear force of interaction is also intact. While in sulfur we have 3 shells. तो अगर उसको 2 electron मिल भी जाएंगे, तो nuclear force of interaction in comparison to oxygen is still, less. And also oxygen has more electronegativity than sulfur. So here I would say that the option would be B, because assertion is correct, reason is correct, but they are not explaining each other. Because negative electron gain enthalpy is a separate property and electronegativity is a separate property. So they don't explain each other, and that's why the option here is B. Let's go to the next assertion. Sulfur has greater tendency for catenation than oxygen. Catenation is that property of any element where one atom combines with another atom and another atom and another atom, and it actually forms chain, right? So if you look at oxygen, it basically can combine with only another oxygen. It cannot form more than that. But in sulfur, we can have 6 sulfur also combining together, 8 sulfurs also combining together. So here also the assertion is definitely true, because sulfur can have more catenation. Sulfur can bond with a lot many sulfur atoms in comparison to oxygen. Now, the reason here is that oxygen-oxygen bond is weaker than sulfur-sulfur bond. Now, that's again very, very true. Oxygen-oxygen bond, if you look at it, is a double bond. It is, of course, weaker. Sulfur-sulfur bond is a single bond. It is, of course, stronger. So, oxygen-oxygen double bond is weaker than the sulfur-sulfur single bond. So, here I would say that the option is A, where assertion is also true, reason is also true, and reason is very well explaining assertion. Third statement, H2O is a liquid while H2S is a gas. Now, this is a statement which is very much true because we all understand water is liquid and hydrogen sulfide is a gas. We do cation analysis in labs, and just because you people are a batch जिन्होंने लैब को एक्चुअली अच्छे से नहीं देखा, बट ऑफ कोर्स कुछ टाइम के लिए आप लोगों ने लैब को जरूर ऑब्जर्व किया होगा. सो आई एम श्योर योर टीचर मस्ट हैव टोल्ड यू अबाउट द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ H2S और Na2S. So H2S is a gas, H2O is a liquid. So assertion is definitely true, no doubt about it. But what about reason? Reason says there is strong intermolecular hydrogen bonding between H2S. Now, what is hydrogen bonding? Hydrogen bonding occurs when there is a highly electronegative species and hydrogen is bonding together. Now, when I talk about sulfur, the sulfur is having less electronegativity in comparison to oxygen. तो अगर ऑक्सीजन की इलेक्ट्रोनेगेटिविटी हायर है, तो ऑक्सीजन का इंटरमोलिकुलर बॉन्डिंग जो है वो स्ट्रॉन्गर होगा इन कंपैरिजन टू H2S, and that is why the reason here is false and assertion is true. So we have A is true and reason is false. Both assertion statement that we have is both the SO bonds in sulfur dioxides are equal. So you have sulfur, you have double bond oxygen, you have double bond oxygen, and you have sulfur dioxide. Okay. So it says that you have both of them as equal, and that's absolutely correct, because it's similar to, carbon dioxide bond. Yes, there is, lone pair of electrons, because sulfur has ऐसा है, तो ये पूरा से लीनियर नहीं होगा, थोड़ा सा बेंट होगा, बट yes, it should be equal because दोनों ही double bonds हैं. Now, sulfur dioxide molecule exhibits resonance. That is the statement. Now, do you think it exhibits resonance? Yes, it does, because the lone pair of electrons can go from here to there and oxygen can change its position. So resonance ho jayega. So here for this, the answer is A. Assertion is also true. Sorry, reason is also true, and it is very well explaining the assertion. And that's why the bonds are equal, because resonance brings stability to the compound. Now, fifth statement is ozone is a powerful oxidizing agent. We can assume that because every time ozone depletes, ozone gives you oxygen gas or O2 plus a free radical of oxygen. Okay, so we have this statement and we feel that assertion is true. Now coming to reason, ozone easily decomposes to oxygen. So you see that in this reaction I have given you both the statements. Okay, now when I have given you the equation which proves both the statements, I would say that assertion is also true, reason is also true, but reason is not able to explain. Why it is not able to explain? Yes, it is explaining you photolytic decomposition, but it is not explaining you how the oxidizing agent. Oxidizing agent matlab that it should undergo the process of reduction, and that's why it will be called as an oxidizing agent, जो हमें यहाँ पर कहीं पर भी दिख नहीं रहा है. So assertion अपने आप में true है, reason is also true, but it is not explaining that. Sixth statement we have is SF6 is a very inert molecule. Now, most of the molecule, their activity depends on the structure. Now, if you look at SF6, it has an hexagon structure because sulfur has 6 electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. To each of them, there is one fluorine attached, right? Something like this. Something like this. Okay, so you have this SF6 thing. Now, it is saying that it is difficult to break the SF bond. You can't break it. It is, assuming that. Now, this is false and this is true. Why? It is inert because sulfur somewhere also is electronegative and fluorine also here is electronegative. So they somewhere do not have ionic bond. Since they do not have ionic bond, of course, they form a covalent bond thing or sharing of electrons is happening. Sulfur, of course, is exhibiting the expanded octet thing here. Because octet में यहाँ पर उसके पास 6 to the 12 electrons है, octet के हिसाब से उसके पास 8 होने चाहिए, तो वो तो नहीं है ना, तो इसलिए it's an expanded octet example. So here the answer is assertion is true, but reason is false. Next assertion that we have is H2SC is more acidic than H2PA. Now acidity depends on how much H plus ion are lost. कितनी feasibility है H plus ion के भाग जाने में, और वो depend करता है that how feasible the compound is able to break the bond. आप ये bond कितना easily break कर पा रहे हैं, इसी को हम बोलते हैं bond enthalpy. ठीक है, so you have tellurium and you have selenium and we are comparing that. Now it says assertion के हिसाब से H2SE is more acidic than H2TE, which I think should not be correct, because अगर हम periodic table में देखते हैं तो उसके हिसाब से we understand that tellurium, because of its size, is more acidic. Now bond enthalpy decreases with increase in size of the atom. That is true, because if you go down the group, atomic size increases, and as the size increases, bond enthalpy decreases. So that is why दोनों एक दूसरे को explain नहीं कर रहे, इसलिए first two options तो आपके nullify हो जाते हैं, but you will have assertion as false and reason as true. So the correct answer is D. Next assertion that we have is sulfuric acid is highly corrosive, which we all understand. सबको पता है sulfuric acid एक तरह का तेजाब है, for all of you who understand this way. Otherwise, sulfuric acid is an acid. So we all understand what is acid, and it is highly corrosive. Corrosive मतलब it's dehydrating in nature. तो अगर आपके हाथ वगैरह पे भी गलती से गिर जाता है तो वहां से आपकी skin जो है वो disrupt हो जाती है. Now the reason is that sulfuric acid is a powerful oxidizing agent. Now when we say that it is a powerful oxidizing agent, we absolutely understand that it is true. Sulfuric acid is corrosive, sulfuric acid is powerful oxidizing agent, but they are not explaining each other. Why? Corrosive का oxidizing agent से कुछ मतलब ही नहीं है. यहाँ पर इसकी जगह पे होता है that it is a dehydrating in nature. तो हम कह सकते थे that yes, it is correctly explaining, because corrosive something is which is tampering the surface of any substance or any metal. तो अगर कहीं लोहा खराब हो रहा है, कोई गाड़ी में जंक लग रहा है, तो we are saying that it is getting affected. Why is it getting affected? Because it is getting corroded. Why is it getting corroded? Because the moisture is impacting on it. So that is why A is also true, R is also true, but they are not explaining each other well. Ninth statement that we have is sulfur dioxide is a good bleaching agent. So it bleaches and it is a very, very good bleaching agent, which is absolutely correct. ये चीज हम class 11th में भी पढ़ के आए हुए हैं. And sulfur dioxide readily oxidizes to sulfate in solution. That also we understand because SO2 अगर हम देखते हैं तो वो अपने आप को SO4 2- में आप इसको ट्वाइस कर सकते हैं, यहाँ पर भी आप इसको ट्वाइस कर सकते हैं और वो बैलेंसिंग हमारी हो जाती है. रिडॉक्स रिएक्शंस में हमने ये चीज करके देखा हुआ है. So in the presence of water, of course. So A is also true, R is also true, but A is being completely explained by R as well. वो reduce good bleaching agent क्यों है? क्योंकि वो अपने आप को ऑक्सीडाइज कर सकता है. ऑक्सीडाइज करने की वजह से वो अपने वो आयंस रिलीज कर सकता है जिसकी वजह से वो ब्लीच करेंगे. So that is why the statement is absolutely correct. Now the 10th statement that we have is Ka1, which is acid dissociation constant 1 for sulfuric acid, is very high compared to Ka2. Now, ये statement जो है, this is from class 11th, if you remember, when we studied equilibrium. Now, I can write this equation for you. The equation says this is Ka1, okay? जहाँ पर आपका A की dissociation हो रहा है. और दूसरा dissociation आपका क्या हो रहा था? HSO4 minus is giving you sulfate ions plus another H plus ion. So that is why Ka2. अब क्या हो रहा है? K2 आपका higher होगा because it is yielding you a stable product like SO4 2-, right? So Ka4 for sulfuric acid is high. It is high. But favorable कौन है? Ka2 है. क्यों? Because Ka1 से आपको एक ऐसी species मिल रही है जो stable नहीं है, जबकि Ka2 से आपको ऐसी species मिल रही है जो stable है. So that is why Ka1 is high. Sulfuric acid is a dibasic acid which forms two series of salts. That also I have shown you. Sulfuric acid will initially give you HSO4- and then will give you sulfate ions. So that is why it's called dibasic acid, because it releases two H plus ions. So assertion is also correct, reason is also correct, but reason is not being explained, properly, because हम acid dissociation constant की बात dibasic से नहीं कर सकते. Acid dissociation constant की बात अगर हमें करनी है, so then we have to compare Ka1 and Ka2, and there we have to talk about the stability of the ions. And stability doesn't mean and doesn't relate to the dibasic acids. So the assertion and reason both are true, but they are not explaining each other. So that's all for today from my side. Stay tuned for the next session, and this is from us. Thank you so much for joining the session.